Hey guys, what's up? We are back with another video today, and today we are doing our Alabama prediction. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and hit that notification bell, as we will be coming out with daily videos of college football predictions, team by team, conference by conference, until the start of college football. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Like this video if you enjoy it. Comment all your thoughts and opinions. Dislike it if you dislike it. It's up to you. But make sure you let me know what your thoughts are on this upcoming Bama season and what you think that the SEC will be like with the additions of Texas and Oklahoma and with the changing college football landscape as a whole, including Alabama's new head football coach in Kalen DeBoer. So let's go ahead and get into today's video because, well, there's plenty to cover. So first off, you start the year off 2024, you play in Western Kentucky. You shouldn't have any issues. Austin Reed, their quarterback, went to the NFL. You shouldn't have any issues. I think that a win should be in order, and I don't think that that first week is going to be very difficult. But this is where it changes a little bit. You got UCF coming to, or I'm sorry, not UCF, USF's, University of South Florida, coming to town. You almost lost to them last year at South Florida. But here's the thing. That team last year was struggling. There were many issues, and everybody kind of knew it. Everybody knew that eventually it would get changed around, and Nick Saban did what Nick Saban did and got it changed around and eventually made the playoff. But here's the problem. This is a new coach in a new environment and with a steady quarterback in Jalen Milroe. But outside of that, wide receiver-wise, you don't have your top two wide receivers from last season in Bond and Burton. Your best wide receiver is probably going to be Bernard, the transfer from Washington. Jam Miller's not a bad running back, but defensively, you lose Caleb Downs, you lose Dallas Turner. You got a lot of pieces missing here, and I'm a little bit concerned about this team early on. I do think that you beat South Florida, but this is no walk in the park. This is a rising South Florida team that has done an amazing job at being able to resurrect themselves from basically the dead when it came to this program, and really being able to now possibly dominate their conference in the AAC with the departure of teams like UCF and SMU and Cincinnati as well. Definitely an improvement there. So you'll get a win there, but don't be surprised if it's a lot closer than you think, just like last year. Then you got a road game against Wisconsin, and no matter what, I thought about this game. At the end of the day, this is Alabama against Wisconsin. Yes, it's in Wisconsin. Yes, it's Luke Fickell, who's a great head coach. Had some struggles at Wisconsin last year and could turn it around this year. Don't get me wrong. He very much could compared to last year. But I just don't believe in Wisconsin fully. Not enough to beat Bama. This is not a great Bama team like it has been in the past, but I think that this will be a win here. I think that you'll get a win there and be able to move on. Then you got a bye week. Then you got probably your biggest game of the year. Maybe not biggest. Possibly. It depends on what you would consider rivalry-wise. If you want to say Auburn, that's fair. Or at Tennessee, that's also fair. But you got Georgia. I'm sorry, but this is a loss. I just don't see how Carson Beck and company don't beat the Crimson Tide. Don't get me wrong. This is going to be a close game. It's going to be a hyped-up matchup. Probably a top-5 matchup between these two teams. Unless if Alabama falters against Wisconsin for some reason or against South Florida. I think that this is a great coaching staff that Kalen DeBoer's built. I think that it is a good team that Alabama has. But are they going to beat Georgia, even with it being in Tuscaloosa? Just don't see it. I think a win for the Bulldogs. Then you got a road game against the Commodores of Vanderbilt, and this team disappointed me a lot last year. Don't get me wrong. This is a team that Vanderbilt, I even had them going, I think, 5-7. And that's pretty good for Vanderbilt. And I like Clark Lee as a head coach, former DC at Notre Dame. I like him. But he struggled. It's going to be a loss, even with this game being in Nashville. Vanderbilt has no home field advantage whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. Then you got a home game against South Carolina. If this game was at William Bryce, I'd be very concerned. But it is in Tuscaloosa, and I do think that you get the win there. Do think that you beat the Gamecocks. But if this game was at William Bryce in Columbia, that's an entirely different story. So you got 5-1 heading into the third Saturday in October, a game at Tennessee. And I'm going to be honest, this is a tough game to call. This is a really tough game to call. So instead of making it a super easy game to call, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play nice and split it with LSU. I think that you lose one of the two games, either at Neyland or in Baton Rouge. I just don't see you winning both. I just don't. This is a good Bama team, don't get me wrong, like I've said before, but this is not the same Bama team. It's just not. I could see some struggles here. And we'll continue on, but I just don't see it. We'll say you get a win against Tennessee and a loss against LSU. It's splitting hairs to me. I don't really think that you lose both games. But I like the matchup a little bit better physicality-wise in Bama's favor against Tennessee and a little bit less against LSU, even though LSU was weirdly not very good in the trenches last year, which I say weirdly not only because it's LSU, but also because it's Brian Kelly. And as a Notre Dame fan, Brian Kelly was known for having good offensive lines and obviously that was partially a Notre Dame thing, but it's not like LSU hasn't had a good offensive line either. They're known for being good in the trenches. So let's say we'll give them a win in Neyland and a loss in LSU. Then you got Missouri. This is a crazy 3-week stretch. It really is. It's going to be so tough. I'm going to give them the win over Missouri because I like Missouri overall. I like the concept. But. Luther Burden, good. Brady Cook, good. Defense does have some question marks with some pieces that are gone, and I don't know if I fully believe in Drinkowitz to turn it around year over year. He had a great year last year, don't get me wrong. He had a good year. But I'm a little bit concerned about Missouri being able to turn this into something. So I am going to give Alabama the win. If this was at Missouri, I'd feel very differently. I think that Missouri may get the win then. But with it being at Tuscaloosa, I'm going to give the edge to Bama in this game. Then you have the bye week and then LSU. We talked about that one already. Plus LSU, you have a good team already. You have a roster that's stacked. The quarterback position, it isn't going to be as good as Jaden Daniels last year. Jaden Daniels last year, but you're gonna be in a good spot. There's no doubt about it. Then you got Mercer. You'll get your win against your dumb FCS opponent that I just hate that you schedule. It annoys the ever-living crap out of me. I get it. I'm a Notre Dame fan. We played an FCS team for the first time ever last year. Don't like it, but it is what it is. Then you have a road game against Oklahoma, and this is where I think you get your third loss of the season. I think that the Sooners beat you. If you even wanted to say you'll lose to Tennessee and beat Oklahoma, that's fine. But I think Brett Venables is turning this team around. I think defensively they're going to be fantastic this year. Offensively, they're going to have some pieces back. They did lose Dylan Gabriel to Oregon, but overall, I do like Oklahoma in this matchup, especially with it being at the end of the year in Norman. I don't like that environment for Bama and Kalen DeBoer. It's not that Kalen hasn't been in tough environments before. The Pac-12 has a few of them, but just not as many as the SEC. And don't get me wrong, I haven't mentioned it with Neyland or with Death Valley or with Camp Randall or stuff like that. All of those are tougher, in my opinion, than any Pac-12 stadium that he's played at before. It just simply is, or definitely at Fresno State. And I think he may have coached when he was at Purdue. He may have coached against Wisconsin at Wisconsin. I'm not 100%. I'd have to go back and check that, but there's that. Then you have a home game against Auburn. Auburn got better this year. It's the second-year head coach in Hugh Freeze. You got a first-year head coach in Kalen DeBoer, but this game's in Tuscaloosa. If it was in Auburn territory, there's no doubt in my mind I'd pick Auburn to win this game. Rarely does Alabama beat Auburn at Auburn, and rarely does Auburn beat Alabama at Alabama. It just doesn't really happen very often. Last year was one of those few times that Alabama did secure the victory. I know they've secured the last two, but man, they were close, and man, they were against not great Auburn teams. An Auburn team that last year lost to New Mexico State, and an Auburn team 2 years ago that was bad. They were bad. So that's going to wrap it up. I have a record of 9-3 to finish off for the Crimson Tide. I know that probably doesn't excite many of you who have been accustomed to massively successful seasons. I don't know whether that makes the playoffs for you. I think it probably does. I think you squeak in maybe at that 11 or 12 spot, but it kind of depends on how the season plays out. So that's going to wrap up today's video. Hit 2 videos down below. It'll be a playlist. It won't be a YouTube suggested video. And hit the subscribe button up here. And as always, have a great day. Bye, guys.